and welcome to the Carla Knits podcast. This is a podcast about knitting, sometimes crocheting, but always all of the yarny goodness I love. Today is Thursday, November 4th. I'm joining you from Nebraska. Thanks to all returning viewers, and if you're new for the first time, thank you so much for stopping by. Let's see, you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as cbcraftygirl, and we do have a podcast group on Ravelry for Carla Knits, and we currently do have a make-along going on in that Ravelry group. It's the HollyJollyMAL, so it's a make-along. It started November 1st, and it goes through January 15th, and it's just anything that has to do with Christmas. So if you want to make Christmas socks, if you are working on Christmas gifts for people still, Christmas themed, anything winter themed, yarns, projects, Christmas ornaments, Christmas decorations, just anything you can think of related to Christmas time or the holidays, any of the holidays that come up this time of year, those are all welcome. And any types of makes, they can be knitted, crocheted, items, stitched, sewn, cross-stitched, weaving. Yes, so just everybody join in the fun with the Christmas, makings. There already has been some great chatter going on in the group, so I'm really excited to see that going on. It's really exciting. I know a lot of you are excited about Christmas, and maybe some more of you will be joining when you get those Advent calendars. I do have a question for you guys today. Those of you who are getting Advent calendars, yarny Advent calendars, what do you plan on making with those? I would love to hear your ideas. I do have a couple coming, and I'm not really sure what I want to make with them this year. So if you guys have some ideas of either projects that you've made or things that you are thinking about making, I would love to hear about those ideas. Also, I have posted a recipe in the Ravelry group. It's the pumpkin bar recipe that I talked about, I think, on the last episode, and I may have mentioned this a couple times. This pumpkin bar recipe is one, I guess I did mention it on the last one because I made pumpkin bars when our son Ryan came home and we had all our kids together. But this pumpkin bar recipe is, it was my husband, sorry words, it was my mother-in-law's recipe, and she would make it in the fall, and I make it every fall now. It's usually right following when we take the boat out of the water. That's a sad time of year, especially for Jeff. He really loves, we both do, but he really loves, his sailboat and the lake. And so it's always kind of a sad time. So I always make that special treat, those pumpkin bars with that good cream cheese frosting on, to sort of cheer him up. So I've made them twice this fall. Yeah, my daughter requested them a second time. So I have shared that recipe in the Ravelry group if any of you would like to try that. It's a really good one. So yeah, I think that's all of the chatter stuff at the top of the episode here. I'm coming to you a little earlier this week, just because Friday, tomorrow, I have a funeral to go to, and I also have a concert to go to in the afternoon. So I thought I would just take advantage of my Thursday and record a podcast, because I always love joining you guys and talking about my crafty makes. So what I am wearing today, it's fun pulling out all the knitwear when it's a little cooler. So this is my hipster shawl by HollyJollyMAL. Did I write down? I thought I just wrote down what the yarn was, but maybe I didn't. So hipster shawl by HollyJollyMAL. I knit this a few years ago. It's a blue sky fibers. It's a baby alpaca, and it's a natural light gray color. So With the alpaca, I can feel it's a little bit itchy. That's definitely the fiber that I'm kind of sensitive to is the alpaca, but oh, it is just so scrumptiously soft. I love it. So just kind of a fun shawl to throw on this morning. All right, I have one finished object today, and it is a pair of socks. These are the socks that I knit for my son Aaron's fiance, Kelsey. This is for Christmas this year. This is a DK weight pair of socks. The yarn dyer is Freckled Whimsy, and this color is Spicy. And I really enjoy knitting DK weight socks. They do seem to go by so fast. And this yarn is just, it was wonderful to knit with. It is so soft, and it just feels so soft and cozy. So I'm really excited to have this Christmas gift done and off my needles. And I thought this was going to be my last Christmas gift, but now I maybe have a couple of hats that I want to make. So we'll see. We'll see about that. They haven't been started yet, but I'm really excited to have this Christmas gift off my needles. So, all right, on to some works in progress. So last week I showed you 3 skeins of Christmas yarn, and they were all pretty different. There was a Victorian Christmas, which was a speckled, Christmas color speckled. There was the Red Barn in winter with big deep chunks of red and some whites and greens. And then there was a pink sock set called Merry and Bright that was speckled and had a bright pink mini. And I kind of asked you guys, you know, which one would you choose? And it was kind of overwhelming that most people would choose Victorian Christmas. So I did go ahead and cast on that sock. Here is the yarn in the cake form, and here is the sock. And I do confess I wasn't all that excited as this was knitting up, and I don't know if it was because it just didn't scream Christmas, or maybe I just wanted something really red and green and festive. You know, I took this to my knitting group on Tuesday, and my friend Lois was like, well, cast on the Red Barn in winter one then, or cast on a new sock. So I still might do that. But I was talking with the ladies in my group, and we kind of think it looks maybe like vintage postcard colors, or someone said maybe, you know, sprinkles on Christmas cookies. So I definitely can see this. And it is really beautiful yarn, and that white kind of does remind me of icing or snow. But I decided to do a contrasting heel, and now I really like this sock. So I've got my little Christmas tree stitch marker on there just for fun, kind of notating where I started my heel slip stitches. But I have this contrasting mini, which I'm not sure what this is. This was left over from a pair of socks I knit earlier this year. But I doubt you're gonna be able to pick it up, but it has some sparkle in it. So it's a beautiful green, and it has sparkle. So to me, that feels very festive. So did that for the heel, and then I'm also gonna do that for the toe. And I think that will be very fun. But for 1 week progress, that's pretty good. Down the leg, I guess I knit it to about 6 inches before I did the contrast heel flap and gusset. And then I am working on those decreases now. So I really am enjoying this. All right, so I cast off or bound off last night that pair of, or Kitchenered the toe on the socks for Kelsey. So I decided to cast on a new pair of DK weight socks. And this is Christmas themed. This is, I showed this a few weeks ago as a new stash acquisition. This is a Homespun house yarn, and it's in the Gingerbread House colorway. And so I cast on this DK weight sock last night and got a little bit of progress made on that. So to me, that one absolutely screams gingerbread house and Christmas. That gives me all of the Christmas feelings there. It reminds me so much of gingerbread houses. You know, this with the white frosting on the house and then all those beautiful red and green speckles in there. I just think that is really fun. So I am enjoying working on this. DK weight socks, they work up so very fast. It's just so nice and squishy. So so those are the two socks that I have on my needle. So I really am kind of debating about putting another one of those Christmas yarns that I talked about last week on the needles. My only hesitation is, you know, this is 2 pairs of socks that I have going, but then I'm like, well, but do the DK weight socks really count because they go by so fast and it's DK weight, so that's kind of a different project, different sock project. So I may cast on another sock this week. We will see. All right. My last work in progress to share with you this week is my sweater. And I have made some really good progress on this as well this week. So this is the Lola Chic sweater by Annie Lupton. It is a DK weight sweater, bottom up. You can see I've gotten 4 or 5 inches of the body worked up this week. The yarn is Berroco Vintage DK. It's a kind of a creamy white color or off-white. It's actually number 2101. So just a really neutral sweater to go with some patterned skirts that I have. But it's very interesting with this front panel and the cable detail on either side. So I hope you can see that. And that pretty stitch marker down there was a new one I got this fall from Hawaii Bazaar on Etsy. She has beautiful yarns and she has beautiful stitch markers. So that bright pink moon, I think it is, that really caught my eye. So that is the stitch marker marking my progress for this week. Yeah, so those are my works in progress. So kind of a quicker episode, but because of that, I thought I would share some socks, some Christmas socks with you that I have knit previously. So this basket here has Christmas or Christmas themed, if you will, socks in it that I have knit. So I'm gonna go through these. I won't take too long, but I'm gonna share some of the socks, at least the festive Christmassy socks from my sock drawer with you. And I kind of did it in order of when I made them, although these 3 I'm not sure about. So I'm gonna start with these. I know that this pair of socks was probably one of my first pair of socks ever. And it's probably my very favorite because I absolutely love this green. This green just, oh, I absolutely love it. And this is a Nebraska dyer. I cannot remember her name, but I did purchase it at Imagine It in Omaha, you know, many years ago now. And the toes are not perfect. I can see where, you know, my toe decreases were not very tidy, but yet I still love these socks. This green, oh, I just love this green. This pair of socks was cranked by someone. I sent some yarn off to be cranked, but the tube really was too big. So you can see it's really stretchy. So I don't wear these too often, but I added the heel, toes, and cuffs on those. They were supposed to be more striping rather than those big flashes or pools in there. So again, I probably did not instruct the person that I sent it on the correct stitch count. So they're a little bit large, but still a very pretty yarn. I think this was a Bad Wolf Girl Sits and Knits yarn. This yarn is yarn that I dyed for Christmas many years ago. It was a Knit Picks, bare yarn with stellina in it, and it has like a forest green and red, and it has some brown blips in there. So that is my pair of socks, and I know these aren't so pristine looking, but they have been well loved. So these are the ones that I don't think I have any record of on Ravelry. But then I went ahead and looked. So I started recording my projects on Ravelry in 2017. So I'm going to go through my socks from then. And so these are all kind of Christmassy themed socks. These are by no means all the socks in my drawer. I do have kind of a crazy amount of socks. I really do love knitting socks, but here we go. These are the vintage Fairy Light socks. Some of you may recognize this pattern. This is a Helen Stewart pattern. Sweet little, it looks like little ornaments. To me, it looks like little ornaments going up and down there, but Vintage Fairy Lights by Helen Stewart. And I knit these with Stress Knits yarn, and it was her Solstice colorway. This yarn is one of my favorite. These scream Christmas to me, so I really do love these. This yarn was by Andy Pandy Crafts. I'm not sure if that person is still dying or not, but the really Christmassy green with all different speckles of the lights in there. And the yarn was actually called Oh Christmas Tree. This does not look very Christmassy at all, but this yarn is Christmas at Downton. So it's a Downton Abbey themed yarn by Lorna Laces, and I am a huge Downton Abbey fan. And these are probably the most neutral pair of socks I have in my drawer because they're dark. So I do tend to wear these sometime, even to work. I guess I do wear my bright and colorful ones too, but these are easier sometimes to wear under dress slacks sometimes. So Christmas at Downton Abbey, and I don't know if I just said this, I have a track going through my mind. Jeff and I just rewatched the whole Downton Abbey series this fall, so we really enjoyed that. This pair of socks, when I saw the name of the yarn, I just had to have it. The yarn is called Vlogmas, and so if you don't know, Vlogmas is when knitters, and I suppose other people do this too, but knitters record some of their daily activities in the month of December. And I enjoyed watching, and yeah, every year watching Vlogmas by different knitters or makers. So this yarn was called Vlogmas, and it is a sparkly, festive colored yarn. And again, I used that green from that first pair that I showed you, or one of those first pairs, for the contrasting toe. This pair of socks is so nice and squishy. I absolutely love this yarn. This one is very Christmassy to me too. This one, let's see, it was called Christmas Cookie, I believe. The yarn was called Christmas Cookie. So, I could definitely see the sprinkles on sugar cookies with this. And I did a textured sock. The sock pattern that I used was Rhinebeck Roomies on there by Kay of the Crazy Sock Ladies, and it just made a nice squishy, lovely fabric for that one. So I enjoy wearing those a lot. This one definitely does not scream Christmas at all, and it's not Christmas because these are my Festivus socks. So if there are any Seinfeld fans out there, you know about Festivus, and we are definitely Festivus fans in this house, and we do watch that episode every December 23rd, Festivus. So this yarn was dyed by Lola did it, and she named it Festivus. And this one also has a nice textured pattern on it. Let me see if I can show this. Yep, and this pattern is the Union Square Socks by Mina Phillip of the Knitting Expat. So it was from her New York collection. So I thought it would be appropriate to have a New York themed sock because Seinfeld took place in New York. So those are really super fun. All right. Then I think that brings us up to, let's see, 2020, I only made one pair of Christmas themed socks, and that was during the month of December. So probably some of you recognize these, and Colleen, I think you made these. Colleen is from the, All the Stitches podcast. Do I have that right, Colleen? But these were a 24 stripe Advent skein of yarn. They were by the Cozy Knitter. So the idea behind this was you could knit a stripe each day in the month of December and have your, sock completed. So with these, I did do both cuffs in November, and then I did start and did a row of color each day in December. And I did order a 24 stripe self-striping skein of sock yarn again, this time from the Freckled Whimsy. So I'm gonna try her yarn, her Advent striping yarn this year. I did peek at the colorway, which is fine. So I will be casting on, the cuffs, and I did them both at the same time. So not 2 at a time socks, but they were going as a project at the same time. So did the cuff for one, did the cuff for the other, did the first stripe on one, did the first stripe on the other. So it was a good way to get those socks done, and it was fairly low commitment for each day just to do that round, that one stripe per day. That was pretty manageable. So I look forward to doing the Advent pair of socks this year too. All right, the socks that I have made in 2021, which are Christmas or festive or winter themed. So these you have already seen on the podcast. But these are the Evergreen Socks. If you remember, I made my mom a pair also, but this was the first pair of Evergreen Socks that I made. I believe I started in December or maybe January, and finished them early in the year, but that lovely Christmas tree. So I have not worn these yet. They have been rolled up in a box. I have an ornament box where I have started putting my socks that I have made this year. So those were new. These I have not worn either, and they were shown early on in the podcast. This pattern is by Hygge Canyon. I believe it's called the Lights on Maine. So it's a really pretty texture, has a little texture right following the cuff. And yarns, sun-soaked yarns. And I should have said the Evergreen Socks were Kingdom Fleece and Fiberworks. But this is sun-soaked yarns in a contrasting mini. I picked that up at another yarn store, Woolly Mammoth, I think, in Omaha a number of years ago. And then my final festive pair of socks to share with you today are these really fun, very, very Christmassy themed socks. This was a German yarn, so I'm not going to be able to pronounce it, but it's the best I can do is Rolana Garn Flöte socks, F-L-O-T-T-E. And it has really bright silver sparkle in there. I don't know if you're able to see that, but the self patterning is just so super fun. on these socks. So I really look forward to wearing these this holiday season. This will be the first holiday season I get to pull these out. So that was a little peek into my my sock drawer, some of the Christmas socks or kind of Christmas themed socks that I have made in the past. So I hope you enjoyed seeing some of those. I guess with that, I think that will wrap it up for today. I hope you have all had a good week. The weather here has been beautiful, very fall-like. We're going to get maybe a little return of a hint of summer this weekend. We could get up to 70, but that's okay. I still love 70 degrees. That's very nice. And that's actually, you can sit on the front porch in knit weather. So I would enjoy that. I would enjoy that a whole lot. I would appreciate it if you would give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, I'd love it if you would do that, if you are so inclined. I would love to hear from you guys to know what you are, any of you who are getting an advent calendar, what you are planning to make with that. Or if you'd like to just share what you're planning to make for Christmas, if you have any specific Christmas makes that you are going to do. I would love hearing about that. And if you'd like to join us in the Ravelry group, in the HollyJollyMAL, check that out too. So with that, hope you all are well. Hope you are having a great week with your makes, and I will see you again real soon. Take care. Bye-bye.